partial descriptions of reality holds logically or experimentally. Since energy never dies, always transforms itself into new types of information, thus the fundamental law of science affirms the existence of two inverse-dimensional motions, spatial energy and temporal information, and its infinite, wider combinations, its three-dimensional functions of existence. The universe is quantized in its motions, an infinite puzzle of those three-dimensional motions that combine into organisms made of particles and heads of information that curve fields of energy into wider waves and bodies, transforming extension into speed, space into time vortices, and vice versa, exploding information into energy and big bangs of entropy. The universe is an eternal fractal, a game of whose purpose is to generate those three-dimensional vital combinations, its functions of existence, organisms that exist by absorbing and emitting energy and information, with its three topological organs, a game of creation and destruction of vital geometries. But physicists miss that purpose, since they only recognize of the three primary causes of reality, the simplest one, entropy, so they miss the interplay of entropy and information that create together all the complementary waves and organic bodies that make up the three-dimensional universe. Thus we, philosophers of science, had to step in, with the power of our small but inquisitive brains, and reign over the white elephants of big science, offering a more accurate picture of the cosmos than a partial description of physics. Thus we, philosophers of science, had to step in, with the power of our small but inquisitive brains, and reign over the white elephants of big science, offering a more accurate picture of the cosmos than a partial description of physics. Thus we shall start this film on the unification of all sciences, with a proper definition of the three primary causes of reality, which are its three-dimensional motions of space-time, energy, information. Thus we, philosophers of science, had to step in, with the power of our small but inquisitive brains, and reign over the white elephants of big science, offering a more accurate picture of the cosmos than a partial description of physics. Thus we shall start this film on the unification of all sciences, with a proper definition of the three primary causes of reality, which are its three-dimensional motions of space-time, energy, information of reality, which are its three-dimensional motions of space-time, energy, those three primary causes can be seen dynamically as motions in time. Then we observe two inverse motions, transforming into each other ad eternal. On one hand, expansive, past entropy that erases forms and creates space as it grows in size and decelerates in time. On the other hand, the inverse motion, implosive cyclical, future vortices of information, which paradoxically accelerate inwards as they become smaller. Yet both motions are simple inverse to each other, so they represent inverse directions of time. But which one? Since evolution and natural selection increases the complexity and form of any system, we call entropy the relative past age of expansive energy, or young age of the system, that evolves with the passing of time, into a relative future, vortex of warped, wrinkled information. Whereas the combination of both motions, into balanced dynamic vibrations, wider bodies and elliptic waves, create a third dimension, of present complementary organisms of energy and information. So the spatial energy of the cosmos condensates into black holes that form together a galaxy, a vortex of information that accelerates inwards as the black holes absorb all its mass. While life as individual and species grows in information till warping into a third age or reaching with man a high, informative point of view. In mathematics, such geometric forms with motion are called topologies, of which there are also three. So we can define also reality as an assembly of the three vital topologies of the universe, each one performed a basic organic function. Linear limbs of energy that feed and move cyclical, tall spherical forms of information that perceive and guide bodies and waves that reproduce the whole system in a wider dimension of space-time. And so to describe reality, we must use physical, biological and metaphysical properties, since each of those three geometric forms have vital functions, as limbs field in energy, Heads perceive information and waves reproduce both. Let us then apply the proper model of the first causes of the universe to study some of its consequences, which are the fundamental themes of those three primary sciences: astrophysics, that studies mostly the spatial, geometric scales of reality, and still wonders what is the relationship and proper interpretation of the events found in those scales; biology, which studies the vital functions of those geometric forms, and the organisms of space-time they form, and why they go through a vital cycle from an H-dominant in energy limbs or youth to an H-dominant in information, and then back in time, in an explosive death, become erased into pure energy again, to continue the life cycle. The answer, though, to that problem is obvious. Because only a dynamic zero sum of lives and deaths, entropy, and information motions ensure the eternity of the universe. Finally, we shall consider the key metaphysical property and question of that universe, the infinity of its souls, its points of